Hi, this is Mark from Wiki Design. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how the site settings design system works inside Elementor. I'm going to go down the list of each of these settings inside the design system and the theme system right here. In this video, I'm going to be using this Elementor stylebook template to showcase how each one of these settings are going to work. If you'd like to purchase this Elementor stylebook, I'm going to leave a link in the description so you can purchase this exact template. This template could be a great addition for yourself or if you design websites for clients. Our clients have given us great feedback since we've started using this stylebook on their websites. So now let's just jump into the tutorial. And there's a few different ways you can access your site settings. If you are on the front end of a website like this, you can hover right here where it says Edit with Elementor, and you can just click this button where it says Site Settings. Or if you're on a page already like this, you can click the hamburger button right here and go to Site Settings. So let's just click that and get started. So the way I have this template laid out is I have it exactly how it is right here on the site settings. So the very first section is your global colors. Then I do your global fonts right here. I jump into your typography right here, which has your button links, a paragraph of text, some headings right here. Then we jump down into buttons, your images, and then your form fields. So now let's just jump into global colors. And as you can see, Elementor has them separated out into your primary, secondary, text, and your accent colors. So I have these laid out right here. And of course, the way it's going to work is if I change any of these colors right here, it's going to change in real time on the right side. Now, if you do run into issues where you're changing values over here and it's not updating over here, what you're going to need to do is save out your site settings. And then what I recommend is refresh the page. Because the way it works, especially with your global colors and global fonts, is this information right here that you assign for your global colors and fonts need to get saved into a CSS file that then Elementor is going to reference into. So like I said, if you start to update these things and they're not updating over here, nothing's broken. You just need to make sure that you update your page and then refresh. So let me just go back into the color I had right here. So I added these right here so, like I said, you or the client can easily see, what are the 4 colors that you have on your website. Rather than having to always go into your site settings, it's a very visual way to see how it's going to look. So that's how your primary colors are set up and, your secondary, your text, and your accent. And one other feature, since we're talking about global colors and fonts, is you may need to go underneath right here where it's Elementor, your settings right here. You may need to either turn on or off these 2 settings right here. So this is called Disable Default Colors, Disable Default Fonts. Now in this use case, we're using the default Hello Elementor theme. So in this case, I want to actually turn these on. So what it's going to do is just like it says, checking this box will disable Elementor's default colors. So Elementor by itself has like default colors, and then make Elementor inherit the colors of your theme. So every theme, even the Hello theme from Elementor, has kind of default colors and fonts inside their theme. So you may need to either turn this on or off, so it's going to depend on your theme. So like I said, if you're changing stuff back here and it's not really updating correctly on this style sheet right here, just go ahead and click or unclick one of those boxes and then just hit save. So if you're new to how the global colors and fonts work in Elementor, let me give you a quick example of how this works. So let's say I'm in this section right here, and if I go underneath style, and you see this button right here which says custom, if I click that, it's going to now pull in your global colors. So these are the colors that we selected over here on this other page. You got your primary, secondary, text. So if I choose primary, you're going to see that that background is now going to choose that color. So if I update the color here on your site settings, anything on the website that has this as your global primary is going to get updated automatically. So your global colors and fonts is going to be a really easy way to make changes in the future if you have to. So you got to kind of know right in the beginning what your primary colors are going to be and stuff like that, because it's going to make it a lot easier to update. So that's why I recommend using, something like this style book when you first get started on a website. So that's what we're doing for all of our new websites moving forward, is we're going to always have this, and then we're going to give this to the client so they can visually see how, their branding is going to match on the website. So that's how the global colors will work on your website, is anywhere that, like I said, somebody's going to choose this globe and change it globally, it's going to update these colors. So now, very similar, if we go into your global fonts now, same thing, they have them separated out right here. So now we're down in this section. These are your different headlines. So you got your primary, secondary, your body, and your accent text. So if you click on one of these, you can see right here, I just have this family called Georgia, and then we are just having it like around 45 pixels. Or you're going to use REMs, you can use REMs, whatever you want to use, you can use that right here. So let's just change that back to like 45. And then you can change your weight right here. And you can also change any other things down here. So you transform your style, all of these different features. So if you go to your secondary one, you can see I have a different font right here. Same size, we can make it a little bit bigger or smaller. You can do whatever you want. And the next one is your body text. So if you're going to be globally using your body text, same feature here. Me personally, what I like to do is, it's a personal preference. I like to use Typography, and they have body in here. So the way these global fonts and colors work, it's a little confusing at first, but once you understand this one thing, it's real easy. Your global colors and fonts never get assigned to anything automatically. So what I mean by that is a user or somebody's going to have to go into here, no matter what widget you're on, and they're going to have to click this button and always assign it a global color. So for example, no other place on the whole entire website right now will inherit this primary color other than this one little section right here. So if we start, multiple pages having this global color, then if we update it, it could update on 12 different pages at once, So that's kind of the difference, is you have to assign these. Whereas these down here underneath your typography will get carried on no matter what. So let me give you an example. So you can see right here, we have the body text right here. So if we move down into this section, this is all your body text on the whole entire website. So as of right now, I have it at this black color, and then you can change the size right here. So I have it at 18. So if I change that to like something really big, like 30, I'll update the website, and then let me show you how it looks on the front end of this page. You can see on the home page, everywhere that there's body text, it's gotten, a lot bigger. It's 30 pixels big right now. So that's why I recommend always using the body text in here, because this will get carried on throughout your entire website. So let's just go back to something like 18. And as you can see right here, I have the body weight at like 400. And then this is also a really important feature right here, is your line height. You're going to want to make sure that your line height is at something, pretty good. Depending on your branding, how you want to have things, you probably don't want to have something like this. So usually I do like 1.2 or 1.5 EMs. So that's kind of a good way to do it, is you start using EMs for spacing. And then you can use these other ones if you want, but I usually just keep it by default. So another really important thing to remember is this right here underneath your body text color. If I change this color to something like red, watch what happens. This is just a regular paragraph text in Elementor, and then each one of these is just using the heading widget as an H1 all the way down to H6. So these colors are being inherited by this body text color. And that's just how CSS works, because the way it is working is these headers don't have any colors assigned to them. So everything will always default back to your body text color. So that's why it's important to have something that's kind of like a good fallback. So in case something doesn't get styled, at least it's going to look good. Like you don't want it to have it, let's say you don't want white when you have a white background on most of your website, then your text will be invisible. So you might run into issues like that, but it will be an easy fix if you just go into here. Let me just hit save right here. And you could see if I go into my header right here, as you can see, this is just using the regular heading widget in Elementor, H1, and nothing's styled. So you can see there's no colors, no nothing. Now, if I went into here and chose my primary color, you can see it's now going to go to that blue. If I want that to be my accent color, it's going to go into, your accent color right here. So that's why now if I jump back into my site settings, and if I change this body background color or this body text, you're going to notice that that is going to stay yellow. Everything else around it will be red. So really important. It takes a little bit to get used to how this works, but yeah, your body text and your typography are one of the most important settings in your site settings. And now if we move down into your paragraph spacing, this is where you can go ahead and anywhere that there's a regular paragraph text in your website, you can space it apart right here. So this will get inherited by your theme in a lot of cases, but you may want to also go in here and change it out And what's nice about this is they give you the different responsive options right here. So play around with that if you need to adjust, how much spacing is in between your paragraphs. So now in the next section, if we jump over into link, you can see right here, they just have a few different things. So we have the normal state, the hover state, color, and your typography. So this right here inside this body of text right here, these two are just simple links inside HTML. Nothing fancy, just two simple hyperlinks. So inside here, I chose a global color. So you can see right here, I clicked on the globe, selected primary. So of course, if I update my primary color here, it's going to update my links throughout the whole entire website. And then underneath typography, I wanted to have a little more control. So what I did is I kept the family at default and I kept everything by default right here. So what this is going to do is default back to the body. Just like I said, everything kind of wants to go back to the body styling. And unless I change it right here, it's going to default back to body. So I did override a few different settings. So I overwrote the weight. I made it a little more bold at 700. And then this is probably going to be the most use case would be under decoration. I chose underline. So if you choose default, it's not going to have an underline. So if you see right here, that little underline, and there's a few other options right here, over and line through. But in most cases, people are just going to use underline. So you can see if I update that, it's going to update the body text. So one thing to keep in mind is anytime you change these values under link, it's going to update all the links throughout the whole entire website. So in a lot of cases, this right here is just using the default Elementor menu widget. And as you can see, it's inheriting the styling for links up here. So what you're going to have to do in a widget like this is go ahead and override that inside your widget settings, because it's automatically just going to default into using the settings in your site settings. So if I scroll down here, I think there's a section right down here with links. So these are just regular hyperlinks, and that's being pulled in through here. So like I said, you can always override any of these site settings at the widget level, and then it would take in that styling and not use this styling. And then, of course, they have a hover state right here. So if you hover over it, it's going to change to the accent color. So you can see I chose the global accent color. And then I didn't change the typography, but if you wanted to change it to something like, I don't know, line through. So now you can see when I did that, I had this right here at a really large text. So you're going to want to go ahead and remove that. And now it will, do something different like that. So yeah, if you have any weird things like that just happen where it jumped really big, you got to go ahead and just make sure that, nothing else is enabled in here. But let's just keep that at underline. So everything should look good. So now if we jump down into our H1 through H6, they give you all the options right here to change the color and typography of each of your H tags. So as you can see, we just have the simple Elementor headers right here. And you can change this up however you want. If you're going to be using global styles throughout, you would just go ahead and click this, select that, and then you can do like your primary. So you always know that your H1s will always pull in your primary headline and this color. And then let's say your H2 is going to be your secondary and your secondary. So now it's going to pull in this color right here and then always pull in this styling for your fonts. So of course you could change out these things manually right here. So if I wanted to make this one, let's say a different color blue and make it, you can change up the styling right here. You can change whatever font. So that's what's good about the system. They give you two different options. They give you, like I said, you can do global or you can, override each one manually right here. And then at the widget level, that overrides completely everything. So that's kind of like the good way to look at it is the widget level has the most power than this right here where you assign them. And then it will always go back to global if you selected that. So that's how you go ahead and style all of your different H tags. The next thing is your buttons. So if you click on buttons, you can see right here, I have a regular Elementor widget button right here. And just like everything else, you're just going to go ahead and you can assign it globally if you want for your typography. But in here, I just changed it to 18, uppercase. I didn't do any other styling in here. Text color is white. So that's going to change this right here. The text color is white. Your background color I have is this blue, which is my primary. So in this case, if I update, like I said, my primary color, all of my buttons will get updated automatically because I chose it right here. And I don't have any box shadows or anything like that. Some padding right here if you want to make it some spacing. So pretty standard stuff if you already know how to use Elementor. So of course they have all the different settings for your hover state. Since this is a button, you can see we have a hover state of just white text, a black background. So I did want to throw this in here as a little cool little tip. If you notice that you're inheriting like something like this weird underline, if you remember, like I said before, the links inside your settings right here are going to come into anywhere it can where there's like a simple HTML hyperlink. And so the way it works with Elementor is their buttons are using just really simple HTML to import, the hyperlinks right here. So if you don't want that underline, you can either go underneath typography right here, link, hover, and remove that underline. So if I change it back to default, you can see that it's gone now. So if you have a weird situation where you have something happening on hover and you can't figure it out, there's a good possibility that there's something underneath your link hover states in this case. So that's how the button styling works. And so you can see when I'm on a page like this, you can see right here, all of my buttons are now going to be this blue. And when I hover over it, it's going to be that black text. And so that's all being controlled right through here. So now if we scroll down the style book right here, you're going to see we have a thing called images. Now, me personally, this isn't one of the site settings that I really ever mess with. And that's because anything that you change here inside your image settings, it's going to change for all of your images on the whole entire website. And so this includes any thumbnails you have, logos. So if you have, like in this case, let me go back here. This is considered an image. That's an image. Anywhere that there's an image, this is going to get styled. So let me just do a quick style one for you so you can see what it looks like. So if I wanted to have, let's just say something really simple like a box shadow. If I update right here, now you're going to notice every single image on my website is going to have a box shadow. So I would say in most cases, the site settings for your images are probably not going to work very well, because what you're going to have to do is now every time that there's an image where you don't want, this styling like this drop shadow, you're going to have to override that setting at the widget level. So I'm going to have to go into each one of these, like that one, update it. These might look okay, so if you have images in your bodies that look good, that could be a good use case right there. But I found in most cases for client websites, we really don't mess with this too much. It's just more work in my opinion, because now you're going to be editing all your images at the widget level. But they do give you some cool options if you know that you have a website where you might only have a few images, like a landing page or something like that. You can always just change that stuff in here. So they give you the options for opacity, your box shadows. You can do some really cool stuff with filters right here, and then they give you the hover state. A few different cool tools. And then I like how you can change how long it is. If you want to have a hover effect, you can do something like that. So now let's scroll down into the last section called form fields. So if you've ever tried to style up forms, you probably know it's not the easiest job in the world. It's a lot of CSS, and I personally think Elementor has one of the best options for styling your forms, because they make it real easy and it's all visual. You can do stuff in real time. So this is a very welcome feature inside Elementor site settings, is your form fields. So before I jump into all of these settings, there's one thing I did notice, and that is when you're using the default, Elementor contact form widget, there's one thing that I noticed they did, and that is by default, they automatically have these form fields as a white background. So I learned that if I'm in here and I'm changing the background color here, it wasn't updating the widget. So when you pull in a regular contact form like this, and if I go underneath style, and you can see right here it says field, you can see right here where it says background color, it's automatically enabling a white. So they probably do that because in most cases that's probably fine for most people. But if you have a case where you need your forms to not be white and you want to be able to control them globally, you're going to have to turn that off. Hopefully that makes sense. So make sure that if some of these things aren't working in your style book right here, you're going to go ahead and just disable any weird styling here. But let's just jump into these settings because there's a lot of cool ones in here. So the very first one is your label. You have your color and typography. So label, if you're not familiar, is where it says name, email, message. So if I go ahead and just visually show you that you can change all of your labels right here. So I'm just going to keep that by default because that's just pulling in the regular body text. And the next thing is the field itself. So you can see if I go here, I'm just going to do this so you can visually see how everything is. So if you change your typography underneath your field, this is the placeholder text right here, and any text that you type in, this is how big the font's going to be. So if you need it to be a little bit bigger than your body, you can always change that right there. Let me just put that back to normal. And then this is pretty standard stuff. So you have your text color. So this right here is just like a light gray. I can always change that to like a red color or something like that. You can always just do that if you need. And they give you the option for your accent colors, and then, like I said, your background color. So if you want to globally have it where all of your forms are now like a different color, like a gray or something, you could do that right here. Like I said, you're gonna have to probably change this at the widget level because they, have that background color by default is white. But let's just bring that back. And then if you wanted to have a box shadow, you can always, do that type of stuff down here. Now, a focus state is when a user is inside of it, interacting. So right here, when I click inside of each one of these, that's your focus state. So if I wanted to have a background color, you can see I have a little bit of a gray. So let me go to a deeper gray so you can see it. So now this is anything that you change underneath focus is what's going to change when the user's focused. So if I want to have the text be something completely different, let's just go dramatic and change it to, ooh, not that. Something like black or white, you can see right here. Anything that you change right underneath here will only get activated when you pull in the focus styles. So that's all your different form settings. And you probably are noticing that the button is being controlled by this button up here. So that's done on purpose because Elementor wanted to keep it where anytime you change a button style, it's even going to update the buttons to your contact forms. But of course, just like anything else in Elementor, if you want to go ahead and override that, you can always just go underneath your form, underneath buttons, and then you're going to have full control over, what button styles you want right here. And that's it for this video on how the site settings work inside Elementor. And if you wanted to purchase this Elementor style book, like I said, I'm going to leave a link in the description below. And this is going to give you the ability to easily import this page template where you can use the style book on your own personal website or for your clients.